Good morning and welcome to this edition of DMS 3000 News Live. It's episode 60 on this Monday morning, October 23rd, 2023. And I am your host, Jason DeCanio, welcoming you once again to another week of interesting topics and great debates and wonderful, commentaries and essays for your informative, informational, and inspirational day. So today, what are we looking at? Well, first off, I want to say that it's been a while since we've been here. We took some time off. Actually, we did 3 shows last week, took 2 days off, and kind of regrouped ourselves a little bit. We're getting real close to Halloween, 8 days in the countdown. So all of this week and right up to Halloween day, which will be next Tuesday, we'll be talking about some of the stuff that is going to be very pertinent and relative to Halloween. Nothing going on today for Halloween except the commercials. So that's a good way to start. But we've been playing commercials all week. Last week, up until, the beginning of the month, really, to kind of get everybody in the mood. This week, we're going to really press hard on those commercials, give you some new ones. I don't think he has any kind of a slate of new ones yet. He said he was going to get them to me Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So be prepared for that, folks. We'll get it all up there. But we have some great topics today to really look at. And the first one is the 22nd anniversary of the iPod debuted today. You've heard of the iPod Shuffle and the iPod Nano. And well, you've heard of Apple before, right? And if you've never heard of Apple before, you're going to get the lowdown history of the iPod and its debut as a music game changer. That's right, folks. Everybody was streaming music now and taking it with them on the road via these iPods. And we'll look at that fantastic run that started over 22 years ago, back in 2001. All right. Next up, then, will be the 98th birthday happy 98th birthday to Johnny Carson. His birthday is today. If he was still alive, he would have been 98. The man, unfortunately, passed away back in 2005. We miss him greatly. The king of late night gets his birthday honors today. We'll look at his fantastic life, as you probably know, things you probably didn't know about Johnny Carson. And for those who never knew who Johnny Carson was, we will give you the lowdown scoop on that. All coming up later on in the program. Then, what is narcissism? It seems like I kind of touched this topic, and I light a match and strike a match with some of my enemies out there. But you know what? We're going to continue to talk about it because this narcissistical world we live in, there are some situations we have to deal with, unfortunately. And I think the wars that are going on right now are from a bunch of narc people who have no, like I said, no credibility, no heart, no brain. They just want to kill and they want to annihilate. They have you can't talk to these people. You cannot reason. You cannot bargain with anybody. And the only way to alleviate and eliminate is to eliminate them before they eliminate you. But we're going to confront this widely misunderstood phenomenon today and give you some great important information, of which the narcissist, whoever is out there, they never like to hear anything talked about as far as themselves. They don't like to hear the science behind it. They don't like to hear the history behind it. And they sure as heck don't like to be exposed about it. Well, too bad. You know why? It's a free country, folks. I have every right to talk about it. And I think anybody on their program has every right to talk about it. We're going to expose this. We're going to bring it to everybody's attention so that nobody falls victim to this. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that are sick and tired of having to deal with somebody who's always on in their lives and never seems to care. Look, if you call yourself a friend to somebody, be there for them. Do things for them or don't. Don't step up to the plate or don't. But don't, I don't know, don't play the game and everything. If you don't like what's going on, quietly go away and leave the person alone and let it be. And when you think the time is right, when you're ready to have that friendship or ready to have that relationship, then you go ahead and make the attempt. But please, for the love of God, once you've broken off something with somebody, please leave that person alone. Don't go after them. Don't continually follow them. Don't stalk them. Okay, because that only leads to more trouble. We'll look at narcissism and all of that later on in the program. Okay? We also have what day is today, which, of course, there's a great bunch of holidays out there on this 23rd of October. We'll see if there's any delicious food holidays today. We'll look at that. And, of course, today is Monday, so, of course, that's News of the Weird. Yeah. Andrews McNeil syndication again is, excuse me, is going to be giving us some fantastic news reports and information, articles pertaining to the weird news from Friday of the previous week. That it goes the whole week, so we'll see what happens with that. And then, of course, we've got the headlines, sports, and other important information for you, and our very, of course, important editorial, which gives you the lowdown of everything we summed up on this date today. And don't forget, on the bottom here, we have things different, too. We have check out new episodes of Chilling 3000 Hangouts Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the David 3000 Network. Yes, our gracious host and CEO, David St. Dennis, will guide you through an hour worth of great interviews with great people. Chilling 3000 Hangouts, Fridays at 8 o'clock. And, of course, our show, new episodes of DMS 3000 News Live, Mondays and Tuesdays here at 8 o'clock, and then Wednesday through Friday from 7 to 9. That's all good stuff. And, of course, we'll put back the ticker that tells you what today is. We'll flash these other two ones every on the half hour. Okay? Well, all right, let's start it off with, of course, our headlines and sports and other important information. We've got a lot to cover. It's a new week, so we're going to NPR, National Public Radio, excuse me, to give you all the lowdown of what is going on because you want to know about it. For Palestinian Christians, a Sunday spent mourning civilians killed at a Gaza church. Services across the Holy Land memorialized the Palestinian civilians killed Thursday when an Israeli airstrike hit the church of St. Porphyrius in Gaza City, where some 400 people were sheltering. The Up First briefing. Aid trickles into Gaza. 9 GOP reps battle for House Speaker of the job. Yes, Palestinian Christians mourn civilians killed in a Gaza church as aid begins to arrive in the enclave. And Representative Mike Flood advocates for a unity pledge to support any speaker nominee. Court extends detention of Russian-American journalist, her employer says. Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty set a court-ordered Alsu Kurmasheva to be held until December 5th, rejecting her lawyer's request for preventative measures other than incarceration. A new benefit at top companies, college admissions counseling. A growing number of companies say it's a way to keep workers. Critics call it another leg up for families that can already afford counseling. The hospital ran out of her child's cancer drug. Now she's fighting to end shortages. Laura Bray couldn't watch her 9-year-old's leukemia go untreated. She started campaigning to fix a broken system and get patients the treatments they need in the face of drug shortages. 9 words that help this cancer patient. You look like you could use a mom hug. As Katie Ortman Doble struggled with a medical ordeal, a stranger offered exactly the comfort she needed. The conflict between Israel and Palestinians and other groups in the Middle East goes back decades. These stories are provided context for current developments and the history that led up to them. Live with your parents? Here's how to create a harmonious household. 3 people who spent time living with their parents as adults share advice on how they've coped with their situation. Don't compare yourself to others, they say, and find ways to still live your life. Michigan State University apologizes for a Hitler quiz question before a football game. The MSU Board of Trustees said it was outraged by the image and vowed to hold school personnel accountable. Hitler's image appeared as part of a YouTube trivia quiz played on the stadium screen. Venezuelans become the largest nationality for illegal U.S. border crossings. Venezuelans replaced Mexicans for the first time on record, according to new figures that show September was the second highest month for arrests of all nationalities. Argentinian economy minister upsets populists as they head to presidential runoff. Sergio Massa surprised Sunday night by finishing on top in the first round of Argentina's presidential election, reflecting voters' wariness about handling the presidency to a right-wing populist. The second batch of aid crosses into Gaza as Israel intensifies strikes. 14 trucks with essential supplies provided by the United Nations entered the southern Gaza Strip on Sunday. It included water, food, and medical equipment, but no fuel. And his call for empathy has made this Jewish studies professor feel isolated. A professor of Jewish history at UCLA has tried to stake out some middle ground where Jews and Palestinians on campus could safely stand and grieve for one another. Philippines says Chinese vessels hit two of its boats near disputed shoal. A Chinese Coast Guard ship and one of its militia vessels separately bumped a Philippine Coast Guard ship and a military-run supply boat Sunday off of disputed shoal, Philippine officials said. Police locate a vehicle last operated by the suspect in a Maryland judge's killing. The Washington County Sheriff's Office said it tracked down a silver Mercedes last operated by the man suspected of killing a Maryland Circuit Court judge on Thursday. Detroit police say no evidence of anti-Semitic motive in killing of synagogue president. Samantha Wall, who has led the Isaac Agree Synagogue in Detroit, was found dead outside her home on Saturday with stab wounds. Israeli soldiers find they must rely on private donations for essential equipment. Across the country, a huge volunteer effort has sprung up to supply troops with protective gear that some say the government is failing to provide. Entertainment industry A-listers signed a letter to Biden urging a ceasefire in Gaza. Jon Stewart, America Ferrera, Kate Blanchett, and Michael Stipe are among the more than 60 music and film industry stars to put their names to the letter. CEO of Web Summit Tech Conference resigns over Israel comments. The Irish entrepreneur stepped down as leader of one of the world's largest tech conferences following remarks he made about Israel and war crimes. Protesters packed London streets demanding an end to the siege of Gaza. British police estimated that up to 100,000 marchers participated. The crowds, carrying Palestinian flags, also demanded that Israel discontinue deadly airstrikes in the enclave. And as Europe applauds Poland's election results, civil rights groups prepare to fight. LGBTQ+ and abortion rights advocates are thrilled Poland's ruling, right-wing law, and Justice Party is unlikely to form Poland's next government, but they are skeptical of the commitment of who will. And finally, a weakened Norma crosses Mexico while Hurricane Tammy threatens Caribbean islands. Barbuda and the Leeward Islands are in the crosshairs of Hurricane Tammy as Tropical Storm Norma moves toward inland Mexico. And there you have it, folks. Headlines for today, October 23rd, 2023. And that's a look at it, and a lot was going on at that time. All right. Baseball is here. Playoffs. You know it. Gentlemen, ladies, whoever's following baseball, realize this. It is now the Houston Astros controlling their own destiny. On October 20th, the final Friday's game, Astros 5, Rangers 4. And the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks take game 4, and they beat the Phillies 6-5 on Friday. The series is tied at 2-2. Then the Phillies come back on Saturday and beat up on the Diamondbacks, and they hit them with a 6 runs to win 6-1 and take a 3-2 lead. Now, the Rangers yesterday, they come back in strong fashion and tie the series up against the Astros. They beat them 9-2. So today at 5:07, Game 6, Philly leads the Diamondbacks 3-2. The game will be at 5:07 today. And Game 7 of the Rangers and the Astros in Houston, series tied to 3-3 tonight, 8:03. Who will prevail? We'll find out as they go about their business tonight to see who's going to the World Series. It is NHL time, and boy, oh boy, we got some scores and some big ones as the Boston Bruins continue their winning ways. They are undefeated again. They beat the Anaheim Ducks yesterday, 3-1. Ooh, and they go to improve to 5-0-0. Oh my goodness. You would have thought that they were just playing for peanuts. They're trying to beat their old-time record from last year to see what happens. Yeah, right? I know, it's crazy, but it's true. All right, so here are the Saturday games that we will look at, and then, of course, the finals from yesterday. Red Wings beat the Senators 5-2. That was a final. It was the Coyotes over the Ducks 2-1. Sabres beat the Islanders 3-1. Maple Leafs upset the Lightning in overtime. Remember, of course, you get a point for an overtime loss, so you still get a point while the other team gets to win and gets 2 points. Maple Leafs win 4-3. It was the Canadiens over the Capitals 3-2 in OT again. It was the Canucks over the Panthers 5-3. Golden Knights keep their winning ways, staying undefeated in their division, beating the Blackhawks 5-3. Predators 5, Sharks 1, Blue Jackets 5, Wild 4. And the Penguins get upset by the Blues 4-2. It was the Stars over the Flyers 5-4. The Avalanche beat the Hurricanes 6-4. The Jets upset the Oilers and win 3-2. Rangers over the Kraken 4-1. And yesterday, the Bruins Saturday, the Bruins beat the Kings again 4-2. And then yesterday, the Flames lost to the Red Wings 6-2. The Bruins did it again 3-1 over the Ducks. Tonight is one game, and that's a 7:00 game, Canadiens and Sabres. All right, we'll look at, of course, NFL tomorrow because we have Monday Night Football. Let's also look at NBA preseason right now. Remember, the regular season starts tomorrow, folks. Regular season starts tomorrow, and it should be a good one. So let's see what happens. There was a lot of games going on. Let's see. Friday. Okay. Yeah, let's look at the Friday games. Nothing over the weekend, which is kind of weird. But then again, that's preseason for you, folks. Hawks lose to the 76ers. These are Friday finals. Hawks lose to the 76ers 120-106. It was the Pacers over the Cavaliers 109-104. Raptors just trounced the Wizards 134-98. Bucks keep their winning ways, beat the Grizzlies 124-116. Mavericks over the Pistons 114-104. Rockets beat the Heat 110-104. And the Spurs beat the Warriors and upset them in Golden State 122-117. Now, the regular season starts tomorrow, so there's no games tonight. First two games of the regular season, Lakers and Nuggets, 7:30 in Denver. The defending champions will play the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron James and company. And then the Suns and the Warriors at 10 o'clock. Then on Wednesday, the big games start. And then go with the Hawks and the Hornets at 7 o'clock. The Wizards at the Pacers at 7. The Rockets play the Magic at 7 o'clock. The Celtics play the Knicks at 7. Cavaliers will go to the Barclays Center and play my Nets at 7:30. The Raptors will host the Timberwolves at 7:30. The Heat and the Pistons. Pelicans and Grizzlies. Thunder and Bulls at 8. Kings at the Jazz at 9 o'clock. Mavericks and Spurs at 9:30. And the 10:30 game has the Trailblazers at the Clippers. We'll look at all those games and their scores on Thursday's edition of DMS 3000 News Live right here on the David 3000 Network. It is 8:20, and we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, We will look at news of the weird right after this.
Great Halloween parties begin at Walgreens. Candy, party decorations, masks, costumes, makeup. Everything you need for Halloween fun now at Walgreens.
Ever hear of a gift certificate that turns into a soft drink? Oh, it can happen this Halloween. When you give out McDonald's Halloween gift certificates, kids take them to McDonald's and they get a McDonald's soft drink. Oh, a book of 20 Halloween gift certificates costs only $1 and can turn into 20 regular soft drinks. It must be the magic of Halloween.
Nobody can do it like McDonald's can.
Nobody.
I'm Freddy Krueger, and you're invited to my special get-together. But beware, you may never leave. Dial this number now. I've got some grisly details for you. And if you're one of my lucky callers selected at random, you'll talk to me live while you're awake and safe. So dial this number now if you dare. Talk to me live. Freddy Krueger is waiting just for you.
$2 for the first minute, 35 cents each additional minute.
For Halloween, Toys R Us doesn't miss a trick, and the prices are a treat. We've got costumes for all Toys R Us kids, even grown-ups, and loads of candy, makeup, masks, and more. Toys R Us will make your Halloween supernatural.
This morning, Billy looked like any other boy, but as the moon rose, he turned into a werewolf. He used new Pa's Halloween makeup kits. His friends did too. Look, Mike's a vampire. Amy's a ghost. Pa's makeup is safer than masks. It never blocks vision, and it's hypoallergenic too. So watch your kids turn into the creatures they really are with new Pa's Halloween makeup kits.
Tales of horror that will give you the creeps.
This is going to be extremely painful, Mr. Verrill.
The most fun you'll ever have being scared. Creep Show. Rated R.
Now playing at a theater near you.
Granola dip. I really dip. Granola dip. Chocolate and granola already in my whole granola dip.
Quaker Granola Dips, a hauntingly wholesome Halloween treat. Chewy granola dipped in real milk chocolate.
Chocolate and granola, lose my self-control at granola dip.
The perfect treat for your little monsters.
Gosh, Burger Chef, it's Wolfburger the werewolf.
Where can I get delicious burgers?
Where can I get fun food?
Where? Oh, where?
At Burger Chef.
Where?
And now at participating Burger Chefs, you can buy fun meals that now come on Halloween magic meal trays. There's a magic trick in each fun meal. There are 10 different magic meal tricks you can collect.
Burger Chef, you're incredible!
Dear Great Pumpkin, I'm looking forward to your arrival on Halloween night.
They're back, all the little Peanuts characters, in a happy Halloween special, filled with ghosties and ghoulies and things that go bump in the night. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, Monday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Yes, The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Oh, should be fantastic. Great movie. I've never seen the whole thing of it. So I'm going to do myself a favor on Halloween night and relax with The Great Pumpkin and really scope it and give you my commentary on it the next day on the Wednesday's edition of November 1st of DMS 3000 News Live. Now, and a good morning to you, Godfather. Thank you very much. We hope you're enjoying the program and continue to support our great show here on the David 3000 Network. All right. Well, now we've got some unfinished business to do here with news of the weird. Let's go back now to our editors at Andrews McMeel Syndication for the week of October 20th, which is right now coming in. And the lead story, the recurring theme. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy, man. I got some of that, what you call acid reflux. It's morning, and it's acid reflux. All right, well, it's happened again on October 15th as an EasyJet flight prepared to travel from the Spanish island of Tenerife to London after a 3-hour delay. The pilot announced that the flight would depart in about 20 minutes. And that's when the incident happened with the defecation, said passenger Aaron Gadu, according to CNN Travel. Gadu saw 2 people visit the forward restroom before an unpleasant odor permeated the cabin, and word spread that someone had pooped on the bathroom floor. Obviously, the plane was in an unsanitary state, so they had to get external cleaners out from the airport to clean it, Gadu said. After the cleaning was complete, the pilot announced that passengers would have to disembark, which took another 30 minutes. Another passenger, Kitty Streak, said, "We obviously can't prove whether the person simply had an accident or if they had done this out of anger for the delayed flight, but nobody wants to be stranded in another country." And yet they were. Gadu was lodged in a hotel overnight before taking a rescue flight the next day. Well, a restaurant in Tokyo, Abe Chan, recently revealed the secret behind its popular pork skewers, Oddity Central reported. The skewers are dipped in a sauce jar that hasn't been cleaned in more than 60 years and is covered on the outside with a hardened goo. Oh! Each day, cooks pour new sauce over the previous day's sauce as they have throughout 3 generations of owners, a practice they say contributes to its rich flavor. Experts said as long as the concoction is heated, there shouldn't be any bacterial growth. Oh no! So the next time you want to eat a pork skewer, check with the server to see how long they haven't cleaned the outside of the sauce, the inside of the sauce jar. Yeah. Well, as Volaris Flight 221 prepared to leave Guadalajara International Airport on October 6th, passengers and crew were delayed by an infestation of mosquitoes in the cabin, ABC7 TV reported. The flight was headed to Mexico City, and crew members and passengers tried for 2 hours to eradicate the pests, swatting them and spraying bug repellent. Finally, passenger Elizabeth Corona said, "The insects settled down when the cabin lights were turned off." Fox News reported on October 17th that Rowan Sturgill of Lexington, Kentucky, has documented her mother, Beth's, obsession with Diet Coke on TikTok. "This isn't even half of it. I'm not kidding," Rowan captioned her video. Beth's decor includes a soap dispenser labeled with Diet Coke, and a wall full of images related to the no-calorie drink. Her Christmas ornaments are dominated by the soda, and an entire wall of her home is dedicated to a shrine of sorts comprised of bottles and cans of various shapes and sizes. One friend posted that it's like being in an alternate reality when they're at the Sturgill's house. Wow. On October 15th, as a child stood near a canal in Cape Coral, Florida, a Dodge Challenger left the road nearby at a high rate of speed and plunged into the canal nose first, NBC2 TV reported, fortunately just missing the child. "I can only imagine how he's feeling," said Lorraine Holder, who lives on the canal and had a home security camera trained on the water that captured the incident. The car's airbags deployed, which made it difficult to get the driver out, but a good Samaritan helped him escape before it sank completely. No injuries were reported. Now, people in London have been perplexed by a bale of hay hanging from the Millennium Bridge, a modern structure that spans the River Thames, Sky News reported on October 18th. The bridge is undergoing maintenance that will reduce its headroom, and when social media lit up with questions, the City Bridge Foundation, a charity that benefits crossings over the Thames, came to the rescue. In accordance with ancient tradition and the Port of London Thames bylaws, a bundle of straw is dangled from the Millennium Bridge to warn shipping of work under the bridge. We're not making this up. Honest. At night, workers hang a white light to warn ships, and work is expected to be completed by November 5th. 3 Florida men were arrested on October 14th in Pompano Beach, Florida, after a hapless kidnapping attempt, KMOV TV reported. Raymond Gomez and brothers Jonathan Arista and Jeffrey Arista grabbed the man outside his apartment in Plantation, Florida, and drove him to a home nearby, but then realized they had the wrong guy. They threatened him with an electric drill and a firearm and attempted to waterboard him before deciding he might be able to lure their intended victim to them. The kidnappers drove him to his place of business, where the other man was, but the original victim phoned in a bomb threat to get an immediate response, and the suspects were arrested. They face life in prison. Well done. Very nice. Japanese milk producer Siki Milk has devised an entertaining solution to a growing problem. Oddity Central reported on October 11th, the company did research showing that 65% of students weren't finishing their milk at lunch, so it partnered with a manga studio to produce an original comic series and printed in white on its glass milk bottles. As they drink, kids are compelled to finish the beverage so the artwork is revealed. The company says milk manga encourages healthy behavior and reading and gets kids thinking about food loss. 41-year-old Ryan Smith, who transports bodies for a funeral company in Omaha, Nebraska, was arrested on October 6th after he broke into the home of a deceased person he had moved, the Smoking Gun reported. Investigators said that when Smith initially went to the apartment, there was a very real-life size sex doll on the bed near the body. Later, Smith called the property manager and said the sheriff had asked him to remove the doll to collect swabs for biopsy. The property manager denied Smith entry to the home, but he later suspected Smith was inside the unit, which had been secured with a deadbolt and chain. The manager watched as Smith left with his shirt untucked and trousers in disarray, and then called police. The sex doll showed evidence of recent use, and she was confiscated for DNA testing. Ryan was relieved of his job. Adorchita Di Perno of Calgary, Alberta, was proud of finishing her 22nd marathon in Chicago on October 8th. So she decided to have her medal engraved on the back, Running Magazine reported. Adorchita, what a name. She also had the 2018 Boston Marathon champion Des Linden sign the back in Sharpie. When she picked up the medal from the engraver, though, she saw that not only was her time wrong on the back, but the F word was engraved above it. This is my medal, but this is not my time or name, she said, and I did not ask for the F word. Well, later that day, store employees figured out that her medal had been confused with another runner's who, oddly, did want the F word engraved on the back, but declined to say why. Di Perano said she was upset about the mix-up at the time, but now she's laughing about it. Probably helps that she qualified for the Boston race. Send your weird news items with subject line Weird News to Weird News Tips at amuniversal.com. And of course, thank you, gentlemen, from the editors at Andrews McMeel Syndication for News of the Weird. Yes, I tell you, we'll see what happens next week as we get more new weird stories and all that fun stuff every Monday right here on DMS 3000 News Live. Don't miss it. We'll be giving it to you. All right. What day is today? Well, it's Monday. Yeah. But what holiday is it? Well, we got the holidays today, and I have not checked what holiday is today, but we're going to look and see. We go to National Today, which is nationaltoday.com, and give you all the scoops. Let's see. Okay. Well, now here is something that really everybody in Boston right now, you need to stop, pop, and drop. Seriously. That's two of my friends out there in Massachusetts. Today is National Boston Cream Pie Day. Yes. Oh, yeah. If you've never heard of Boston cream pie before, it's a yellow butter cake filled with custard or cream and topped with chocolate glaze. Yum. Now, we know what you're thinking. Why is it called a pie when it's actually a cake, right? Well, when the Boston cream pie was first invented, cakes and pies were baked with the same kinds of pans, and even the words were used interchangeably. As a result, the Boston cream pie kept its old-fashioned name in addition to its delicious flavor, and it was first invented in 1856 by an Armenian French chef named Sanzinian, or Sanzion, or something like that, Sanzayan. And at the time, chocolate frosting was a fairly new idea, so the delicious dessert took the world by storm. And to this day, it remains a popular menu selection. It's even the official dessert of Massachusetts. So get your fork at the ready. Let's eat. Back then, the dish consisted of French butter sponge cake filled with a thick custard and brushed with a rum syrup. The same custard overlaid with toasted sliced almonds coated with the sides, while chocolate fondant topped it all off. And while other custard cakes may have existed at the time, baking chocolate as a coating was a new process, making it unique and a popular choice on the menu. So according to the website What's Cooking America, cooks in New England and Pennsylvania Dutch regions were known for their cakes and pies, and the dividing line between them was very thin. This cake was probably called a pie because in the mid-19th century, pie tins were more common than cake pans. The first versions might have been baked in pie tins, and the Boston cream pie is a remake of the early American pudding cake pie. Wow. So 1856, the world premiere of the Boston cream pie from Chef Sanzinian invents it for the Parker House Hotel, now the Omni, in Boston. And it's official in 1996. Massachusetts names the Boston cream pie as the official state dessert. A civics class from Norton High School sponsored the bill. The pie beat out other candidates, including the Toll House cookie and Indian pudding. In 2010, do you want seconds? Students at Southern New Hampshire University created the world's largest Boston cream pie, measuring 10 feet wide and 1.5 feet high. And in 2015, the history of New England pies. Author Robert Cox publishes the definitive history of New England pie making, discover the revolutionary roots of the Boston cream pie. Yes. So, now, here are some National Boston Cream Pie FAQs. Is Boston cream pie a cake? Why, yes, it's a yellow butter cake filled with custard or cream and topped with chocolate glaze. Why do we refer to Boston cream pie as pie? Well, this cake was probably called a pie because in the mid-19th century, pie tins were more common than cake pans. The first versions might have been baked in pie tins. And what are Boston's other signature foods? Clam chowder, lobster rolls, oysters, baked beans, fish and chips, and the Fenway Frank for hungry Red Sox fans. So, National Boston Cream Pie Day activities. Go ahead and make your own. If you're someone who loves to bake, then this is the perfect opportunity to give a delicious dessert a try. If you're trying it for the first time, or if you're improving an old favorite, baking your own Boston cream pie is the perfect way to celebrate. And throw a Boston cream party. Invite your fellow cake enthusiasts to join you in celebrating Massachusetts' official dessert. Bring along other Boston-themed foods as well, such as clam chowder, lobster, and Sam Adams beer if your guests are of age. And if you really want to give it that revolutionary vibe, invite your guests to a party in period-style clothing. And go to Boston. Well, what better place to get an authentic Boston cream pie than in its official birthplace? And while you're there, check out some of the other excellent experiences that Boston has to offer. And why we love this day so much. It's delicious. Yes, the recipe is so simple. You really only need 3 ingredients, and yet there's something about the combination of chocolate, cake, and custard that's so comforting and tasty. Not only that, but the simplicity of the ingredients gives you a lot of room to experiment. How many ways can you jazz up a Boston cream pie? Well, there are many ways, unfortunately, and it's got a rich history. Boston has always been a rich cultural hub. It was the site of some of the most important events in the Revolutionary War, and has continued to be the birthplace of American traditions ever since. With every bite of a Boston cream pie, you are continuing a tradition of wicked Bostonian trend-setting and innovation that's 260 years strong. And let us eat cake. You really don't need an excuse to eat cake, but it's handy to have one sometimes. So go ahead and treat yourself. And there you have it, friends. National Boston Cream Pie Day today, October 23rd, 2023. Let's see. Do we have any more food times here? Looking. We got a lot of birthdays. Johnny Carson's birthday we'll talk about later. I think that's all for today on the holidays. Now, Weird Al Yankovic has a birthday as well today, too. Cool. Okay. That's all for what day is today. I think National Boston Cream Pie kind of sums it up pretty well. And for all you out there that are going to have a slice today, have a slice on me, okay? It is 8:42, and we're going to be taking a break. And when we come back, we're going to start our look at some of the informative articles that we have on today's topic list, including the 22nd anniversary of the iPod. All of this and much more when we come back on DMS 3000 News Live right after this.
10 singers, 9 singers, 8 yummy singers, 7 singers, 6 singers, 5 tasty singers.
Everyone wants to zap gold cake with vanilla frosting, devil's food with chocolate, raspberry with coconut, all with cream centers.
Please one singer to zap.
Right now, in specially marked bonus packs, you'll find a pumpkin decorating kit and 2 extra zingers.
Trick or treat.
1 trick and 2 treats from Dolly Madison.
My big friend, I love the big taste of chocolate in this little Hershey's Kiss.
Hershey's Kisses, the little kiss with the big taste.
Hallmark's ready for Halloween, and it's the strangest thing. Everybody's wild about new scratch and sniff stickers in special trick-or-treat packages, and they're dying to take home these cuddly pumpkin beanbags. And these party decorations are so popular, they seem to just disappear. So come to Hallmark, the Halloween store. We're waiting for you.
Goblins, werewolves, vampires. They're not real, but he is a real nightmare. Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance. It's the night he came home. Halloween 2, Thursday at 8 on Channel 17. Parental discretion advised.
I knew I should have worn a costume. Yo, Bo Peep, what you got in your bag?
Introducing Roy Rogers' Big Chicken Deal. 2 plump and juicy pieces of fried chicken, hot, crisp fries, and a fresh baked biscuit. Roy Rogers' Big Chicken Deal, just $1.99.
Don't you even think about it.
They are the children of the corn. They must obey he who walks among the rows. They live in a world where adults are not allowed to live. Children of the corn. new kind of nightmare, an adult nightmare. Stephen King's Children of the Corn, rated R.
Coming Friday. Check local newspapers for theaters and showtimes.
Halloween's coming. What are you going to do about it? Whether you do a little or a lot, be an original this Halloween and find yourself at Hallmark.
Hallmark has a way.
And at participating Hallmark stores, get your hands on the Spooky Sounds tape, full of creepy sounds and Halloween theme songs. $1.95 with any $5 Hallmark purchase, only at participating Hallmark stores. It's a scream.
The Halloween Hall of Fame will continue after these messages.
The Halloween experts at Magic Manor have everything you'll need this year, including actual character masks from famous motion pictures. And they can show you the proper application of makeup to impress that special someone. Magic Manor's professional hand-painted custom masks start as low as $250. This Halloween, remember Magic Manor. Wigs, masks, makeup, costumes, shockingly authentic. Magic Manor, East Wind Mall.
The 22nd anniversary of the iPod is today, and you all probably are familiar with Apple's discontinued series of portable media players and multiple purpose mobile devices designed. And the first version was released today, back in 2001, about 8.5 months after the Macintosh version of iTunes was released. Apple sold an estimated 450 million iPod products as of 2022, but they discontinued the iPod product line on May 10th of last year. At over 20 years, the iPod brand is the oldest to be discontinued by Apple. Like other digital music players, some versions of the iPod can serve as external data storage devices. Prior to Mac OS 10.15, Apple iTunes software and other alternative software could be used to transfer music, photos, videos, games, and contact information, and email settings, web bookmarks, and calendars to the devices supporting these features from computers using certain versions of Apple macOS and Microsoft Windows operating systems. Before the release of the iOS 5, the iPod branding was used for the media player included with the iPhone and iPad, which was separated into apps named Music and Videos on the iPod Touch. As of iOS 5, separate music and videos apps are standardized across all iOS-powered products. And while the iPhone and iPad have essentially the same media player capabilities as the iPod line, they are generally treated as separate products. During the middle of 2010, iPhone sales overtook those of the iPod. So portable MP3 players had existed since the mid-1990s, but Apple found existing digital music players big and clunky or small and useless, while with user interfaces that were unbelievably awful. They also identified weaknesses in existing models, attempt to negotiate the trade-off between capacity and portability. Flash memory-based players held too few songs, while the hard drive-based models were too big and heavy. So to address these deficits, the company decided to develop its own MP3 player. At Apple, CEO Steve Jobs' direction, hardware engineering chief John Rubinstein recruited Tony Fadell, a former employee of General Magic and Philips, who had a business idea to invent a better MP3 player and build a complementary music sales store. Fadell had previously developed the Philips Velo and Nino PDA before starting a company called Fuse Systems to build the new MP3 player. But Real Networks, Sony, and Philips had already passed on the project. Rubinstein had already discovered the Toshiba hard disk drive while meeting with an Apple supplier in Japan, ultimately purchasing the rights to it for Apple. Rubinstein had also made substantial progress on development of other key hardware elements, including the device's screen and battery. Fidel found support for his project with Apple Computer and was hired by Apple in 2001 as an independent contractor to work on the iPod project, then code-named Project P68. Because most of Apple's engineering manpower and resources were already dedicated to the iMac line, Fidel hired engineers from his startup company, Fuse, and veteran engineers from General Magic and Philips to build the core iPod development team. Time constraints forced Fidel to develop various components of the iPod outside of Apple. Fidel partnered with a company called Portable Player to design software for the device, and this work eventually took shape as the iPod OS. Within 8 months, Tony Fidel's team and Portable Player had completed a prototype. The power supply was then designed by Michael Duhay, while the display was designed in-house by Apple design engineer Jonathan Ive. Now, the device's physical appearance was inspired by the 1958 Braun T3 transistor radio designed by Dieter Rams, and while the wheel-based user interface drew on Bang & Olufsen's Beocom 6000 telephone, Apple CEO Steve Jobs set an exacting standard for the device's physical design. One anecdote relates on an occasion in which Jobs dropped a prototype into an aquarium in front of engineers to demonstrate from bubbles leaving its housing that the current design contained unused internal space. Apple contracted another company called Pixo to help design and implement the user interface, as well as Unicode, memory management, and event processing under Jobs' direct supervision. The name iPod was proposed by Vinny Cecchio, a freelance copywriter who, with others, was contracted by Apple to determine how to introduce the new player to the public. After Cecchio saw a prototype, he was reminded of the phrase, "Open the pod bay doors, Hal," from the classic sci-fi film 2001, A Space Odyssey, referring to the white EVA pods of the Discovery 1 spaceship. Cecchio's proposal drew an analogy between the relationship of the spaceship to the smaller independent pods and that of a personal computer to its companion music player. The product, which Fortune called Apple's 21st century Walkman, was developed in less than 1 year and unveiled on October 23, 2001. Jobs announced it as a Mac-compatible product with a 5-gig hard drive that put 1,000 songs in your pocket. Apple researched the trademark and found that it was already in use. Joseph N. Grasso of New Jersey had originally listed an iPod trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in July of 2000 for internet kiosks. The first iPod kiosks had been demonstrated to the public in New Jersey in March of 98, and commercial use began in January of 2000. But the venture had apparently been discontinued by 2001. The trademark was registered by the USPTO in November of 2003, and Grasso assigned it to Apple Computer Inc. in 2005. The earliest recorded use in commerce of an iPod trademark was in 1991 by the Chrysalis Corporation of Sturgis, Michigan, styled iPod for office furniture. Now, as development progressed, Apple continued to refine the software's look and feel, rewriting much of the code, starting with the iPod Mini. The Chicago font was replaced with SB Sans. Later, iPods switched fonts again to Podium Sans, a font similar to Apple's corporate font, Murad. Color display iPods then adopted some Mac OS X themes like aqua progress bars and brushed metal meant to evoke a combination lock. January 8, 2004, Hewlett-Packard announced that they would sell HP-branded iPods under a license agreement from Apple. Several new retail channels were used, including Walmart, and these iPods eventually made up 5% of all iPod sales. July 2005, HP stopped selling the iPods due to unfavorable terms and conditions imposed by Apple. In 2006, Apple partnered with Irish rock band U2 to present a special edition of the 5th generation iPod. And like its predecessor, this iPod has the signatures of the 4 members of the band engraved on its back. But this one was the first time the company changed the color of the stainless steel back from a silver chrome to black. This iPod was only available with 30 gigs of storage capacity. The special edition entitled purchasers to an exclusive video with 33 minutes of interviews and performances by U2, downloadable from the iTunes Store. In 2007, Apple modified the iPod interface again with the introduction of the 6th generation iPod Classic and 3rd generation iPod Nano by changing the font to Helvetica and, in most cases, splitting the screen in half, displaying the menus on the left and album artwork, photos, and videos on the right. Mid-2015, several new color schemes from all the current iPod models were spotted in the iTunes 12.2 update. Belgian website Belgium iPhone originally found the images after plugging in an iPod for the first time, and subsequent photos were discovered by Pierre Dandumont before being leaked. On July 27th of 2017, Apple removed the iPod Nano and Shuffle from its stores, marking the end of Apple's production of standalone music players. May 10th of 2022, Apple discontinued the iPod Touch, the last remaining product in the iPod line. iOS 15 was the last iOS release the 7th generation iPod Touch received, as future versions from iOS 16 onward no longer support the device. And there you have it, friends. I'll look at the history of the iPod in all of its glory, and you can also look at the software, the interface, the accessories that go with it. But bear in mind that this is the 22nd anniversary. This date marks when it came out back in 2001. And I know for a fact that I owned an iPod Shuffle and still have it to this day. Probably doesn't work anymore because the battery, of course, died. But I can tell you that the iPod Shuffle and the iPod Nano held up to 500 songs, and I was not bored with any of it because I could put my own music on there and drive around in the car and listen to the various songs that I wanted to put out and then change them every week. It made music streaming a very convenient thing. And when those two products were discontinued and the next cheapest thing that that Apple company was going to have was the next one up, that cost $200. I was like, man, you're discontinuing an affordable product. And I'll tell you this much, Apple products are not for the poor people. Because if you can't afford an Apple product, you're not like that. And I don't support Apple products at all. I think there's other ways to get your music. You have YouTube, you have, what was Napster. We even can look at the history of all of these streaming services coming in. But the bottom line of it is, folks, the beginning of 2000s, that was the trend of where it was going. And what a run it had for a little while. But you can still probably find the iPod Shuffle and the Nano probably at flea markets or definitely somewhere where they sell them for like dirt cheap. And they probably restore them as well too. Whatever the case, if you are an iPod fan, happy 22nd anniversary to all of you iPod people out there. All right, when we come back, we're going to celebrate Johnny Carson's 98th birthday. That's right, we're going to look at the man who is the king of late night, plus whatever else he did before he started hosting The Tonight Show, because he was so full of talent and everything else in the book. And then we'll look at the debatable narcissism. Science confronts a widely misunderstood phenomenon. All of that coming up in a little bit, around the 9 o'clock hour, on this edition of DMS 3000 News Live.
Hey, Ronald, what are those things you're wearing?
My trick-or-treat safety cups. They're shiny aluminum foil with bright orange stripes, so they reflect light.
Neat! Where'd you get them?
Right at McDonald's. This Halloween, be sure you're all wearing McDonald's trick-or-treat safety cups. Children should be seen and not hurt.
Make Halloween fun with one-stop shopping at Woolworth or Woolco for your Halloween needs. Costumes from $1.83 to $3.99, like $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, superheroes, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and a new favorite for girls, Holly Hobby. You can get wrapped candies of every kind, bubblegum, lollipops, fun-size candy bars. Get this Halloween record, Sounds to Make You Shiver, just $1.89. Make Halloween fun and easy. Make just one stop at Woolworth or Woolco.
This Halloween, give the safe treat
Thank you.
that helps treat the disabled.
Thank you.
Give Easter Seal safe Halloween coupons.
Thank you.
Good for special treats at local stores and restaurants.
Thank you.
Give Easter Seal safe Halloween coupons
Thank you.
and give the treat that gives treatment.
Thank you.
Safe Halloween booklets are now available at these fine stores. Support a safe Halloween for children everywhere.
Halloween's a perfect time for baking spooky cookies. Just roll out Pillsbury sugar cookies, cut, bake and decorate, then feed them to your goblins. So much fun there.
Scary.
This Halloween, capture your ghosts and goblins on genuine Kodak film from Thrifty. Whether it's print, slide, or movie film, Kodak is the choice of professionals. Thrifty carries a full line of Kodak film, including C126-24 exposure, C110 and C135 24 exposure in regular and high-speed print film, KR135 36 exposure slide film, and Super 8 movie film. Remember, the sharper you want your memories, the more you need Kodak film and Thrifty.
I'll have to do something about that face.
Introducing Spooky Goop, horrifying monster makeup you make up at home. Spooky Goop's bubbling lizard lips, bat bones, and toad toes create a ghoulish goo that makes a monster out of you.
Now that's a face no mother could love.
Spooky Goop, spine-tingling makeup for Halloween or any unearthly occasion.
I just had the greatest idea. Let's spend the night in the fun house.
This better be good.
It's gonna be great.
Something is alive in the fun house. Something deadly. Something evil.
I don't know what that thing is.
Something that tonight will turn the fun house into a carnival of terror. The Fun House, rated R, starts Friday at a theater near you.
Last year, one of everyone's favorite candies appeared in a Halloween-sized pack.
Skittles.
And word spread quickly.
Is this the house that gives Skittles? See, I told ya.
I, Speedy McGreedy, have created Frankenstein Mouth.
I want juicy burgers.
We'll go to Hardee's.
The burgers are juicy and hearty.
Right, Ivan. Hardee's jaw broils them.
Let's say hello to Hardee's.
It's Halloween time. When you buy a burger and soft drink at Hardee's, you get a coin to put in the fun machine, which gives you a Halloween prize.
I got a creepy crawly Halloween thing. I got a Halloween ring.
The fun machine at participating Hardee's.
Wednesday, it's a hair-raising Halloween happening.
Can't she begin it?
First, that Emmy-winning Fat Cat. It's the trick-or-treat trail.
I'm no scaredy cat.
It's all new Garfield's Halloween Adventure. Then,
I hear the Great Pumpkin.
the Halloween classic, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, right after Garfield, Wednesday.
Toys R Us has the Big Bird Halloween costume and the Yoda Halloween costume for trick-or-treating.
Johnny Carson is, of course, as you know, passed away back in 2005. And we lost a very great dear man with a lot of popularity in his time. The American television host, comedian, writer, and producer, best known for hosting the Tonight Shows of his name, received 6 Primetime Emmy Awards, the Television Academy's 1980 Governor's Award, and a 1985 Peabody Award. Born John William Carson on October 23rd, 1925 in Corning, Iowa, to Ruth Elizabeth Hook Carson, 1901 to 1985, and Homer Lloyd Kit Carson, a power company manager. He was the second child of 3 children. He had an older sister Catherine Kit Carson Sotzing, and a younger brother, Richard Carson. As a child, he lived in the nearby towns of Avoca, Clarinda, and Red Oak in southwest Iowa before moving to Norfolk, Nebraska at the age of 8. There, Carson grew up and began developing his talent for entertaining. At the age of 12, Carson found a book on magic at a friend's house and immediately purchased a mail-order magician's kit. After purchasing the kit, Carson practiced his entertainment skills on family members with card tricks. He was known for following his family members around saying, "Pick a card, any card." Carson's mother sewed him a cape, and his first performance was staged in front of the local Kiwanis Club. He debuted as the Great Carsoni at age 14 and was paid $3 a show. Soon, many other performances at local picnics and county fairs followed. After graduating from high school, Carson had his first encounter with Hollywood. He had hitchhiked to Hollywood, where he was arrested and fined $50 for impersonating a midshipman, a story often regarded as apocryphal. Carson joined the United States Navy on June 8th of 1943 and received V-12 Navy College Training Program officer training at Columbia University and Millsaps College. Commissioned and assigned late in the war, Carson was assigned to the USS Pennsylvania in the Pacific. And while in the Navy, he posted a 10-0 amateur boxing record, with most of his bouts fought on board the Pennsylvania. He was en route to the combat zone aboard a troop ship when the war ended. Carson served as a communications officer in charge of decoding encrypted messages. He said that the high point of his military career was performing a magic trick for United States Secretary of the Navy, James V. Forrestal. In a conversation with Forrestal, the secretary asked Carson if he planned to stay in the Navy after the war. In response, Carson said no and told him he wanted to be a magician. Forrestal asked him to perform, and Carson responded with a card trick. Carson made the discovery that he could entertain and amuse someone as cranky and sophisticated as Forrestal. Taking advantage of educational opportunities from the Navy, he attended the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where he joined Phi Gamma Delta fraternity and continued performing magic, then paid $25 per appearance. He majored in journalism with the intention of becoming a comedy writer, but instead switched his major to speech and drama a few months later because he wanted to become a radio performer. His college thesis, titled How to Write Comedy for Radio, was a compilation of taped skits and jokes from popular radio shows, with Carson explaining the comedic technique in a voiceover. It allowed him to graduate in 3 years, and he graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in Radio and Speech with a minor in physics in 1949. He began his broadcasting career in 1950 at WOW Radio and Television in Omaha. He soon hosted a morning television program called The Squirrel's Nest. One of his routines involved interviewing pigeons on the roof of the local courthouse that would report on the political corruption they had seen. Carson supplemented his income by serving as master of ceremonies at local church dinners, attended by some of the same politicians and civic leaders he had lampooned on the radio. The wife of one of the Omaha political figures Carson spoofed owned stock in a radio station in Los Angeles, and in 1951 referred Carson to her brother, who was influential in the emerging television market in Southern California. Carson joined CBS-owned Los Angeles television station KNXT, now KCBS-TV, and in 1953, comic Red Skelton, a fan of Carson's cult success, low-budget sketch comedy show, Carson's Cellar, from 1951 to 1953 on KNXT, asked Carson to join his show as a writer. Then in 1954, Skelton accidentally knocked himself unconscious during rehearsal an hour before his live show began. Carson successfully filled in for him. In 1955, Jack Benny invited Carson to appear on one of his programs during the opening and closing segments. Carson imitated Benny and claimed that Benny had copied his gestures. Benny predicted that Carson, who readily admitted Benny's substantial influence on aspects of his comedic delivery, would have a successful career as a comedian. Carson hosted several shows besides Carson's Cellar, including the game show Earn Your Vacation and the CBS variety show The Johnny Carson Show from 55 to 56. He was a guest panelist on the original To Tell the Truth beginning in 60, becoming a regular panelist from 61 to 62. After the prime time, The Johnny Carson Show failed, he moved to New York City to host ABC TV's Who Do You Trust? It was on Who Do You Trust that Carson met his future sidekick and straight man, Ed McMahon. And although he believed moving to daytime television would hurt his career, Who Do You Trust was a success. It was the first show where he could ad-lib and interview guests, and because of Carson's on-camera wit, the show became the hottest item on daytime television during his 6 years at ABC. From his experience as a radio host, he would later write a parody for The New Yorker of former talk show host Dennis Miller having the new role at the time in 2000 as an NFL sports announcer titled Proverbs of Dennis Miller. NBC's Tonight Show was the late-night counterpart to its early morning show Today. Originating in 1954 with host Steve Allen, Tonight was somewhat experimental at the time, as the only previous network late-night program was NBC's Broadway Open House, which starred Jerry Lester and Dagmar. Tonight was successful, and when Allen moved on to primetime comedy variety shows in 1957, Jack Parr replaced him as host of Tonight. Parr left the show in 1962. Carson's success on ABC's Who Do You Trust led NBC to invite him to take over Tonight a few months before Parr's departure. Carson declined the offer because he feared the difficulty of interviewing celebrities for 105 minutes each day. Bob Newhart, Jackie Gleason, Groucho Marx, and Joey Bishop all also declined. Well, NBC finally convinced Carson to sign by early February of 62. Carson can be seen discussing his upcoming job for the first time on the February 11th, 1962 episode of What's My Line. And due to Carson having 6 months left on his ABC contract, NBC used multiple guest hosts until he could take over. Guest hosts included Merv Griffin, Art Linkletter, Joey Bishop, Arlene Francis, the first woman to host the Tonight Show, Bob Cummings, Jerry Lewis, Groucho Marx, Donald O'Connor, and others. And although he continued to have doubts about his new job, Carson became the host of Tonight, later called the Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, on October 1st, 1962. After a difficult first year, he overcame his fears. While Tonight, under its previous host, had been successful, especially under Parr, Carson's version eventually did very well in the ratings. Billy Wilder said of Carson, "By the simple law of survival, Carson is the best. He enchants the invalids and the insomniacs, as well as the people who have to get up at dawn. He is the Valium and the Nembudol, the Nembudol of a nation. No matter what kind of dead asses are on the show, he has to make them funny and exciting. He has to be their nurse and their surgeon. He has no conceit. He does his work and he comes prepared. If he's talking to an author, he has read the book. Even his rehearsed routines sound improvised. He's the cream of middle-aged elegance, yet he's not a mannequin. He has captivated the American bourgeoisie without ever offending the highbrows, and he has never said anything that wasn't liberal or progressive. Every night in front of millions of people, he has to do the salto mortal, or the circus parlance for an aerial somersault performed on the tightrope. What's more, he does it without a net. No rewrites, no retakes. The jokes must work tonight." McMahon followed Carson from Who Do You Trust as his announcer and sidekick, and Skitch Henderson was installed as the maestro of the NBC orchestra. McMahon's famous introduction, "Here's Johnny," was followed by a brief monologue by Carson. This was often followed by comedy sketches, interviews, and music. Carson's trademark was a phantom golf swing at the end of his monologues, aimed stage left toward the studio orchestra. Guest hosts sometimes parodied that gesture. Bob Newhart rolled an imaginary bowling ball toward the audience. Paul Anka wrote the theme song, Johnny's Theme, a reworking of his Toot Sweet, given lyrics. It was renamed It's Really Love and recorded by Annette Funicello in 1959. Before taking over The Tonight Show, Carson wrote lyrics for the songs and so claimed 50% of the song's performance royalties, though the lyrics were never used. The theme is heard being played on sound recordings of Carson's first Tonight Show, and it was used without interruption through to his last broadcast on May 22nd, 1992. The show was originally produced at the 30 Rockefeller Plaza NBC television studios in New York City, with occasional stints in California. The program began videotaping in advance during the Jack Paar days, although during the 70s, NBC fed the live taping from Burbank to New York via satellite for editing. Carson had a talent for quick quips to deal with problems. If the opening monologue fared poorly, the band would start playing Tea for Two, and Carson danced the soft shoe to laughs from the studio audience. Alternatively, Carson might pull the boom microphone close to his face and announce, "Attention, Kmart shoppers, clean up in aisle 4. May 1st, 1972, the show moved from 30 Rockefeller Plaza to the NBC studios in Burbank, California, because of the studio's proximity to celebrities. From July of 71, Carson stopped hosting 5 shows per week. Instead, Mondays featured a guest host, leaving Carson to host the other 4 weeknights. Shows were videotaped in Burbank at 5:30 p.m., fed from there to the channel or to the Central and Eastern time zone stations via cross-country television line at 8:30 Pacific time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern time, and later sent from Burbank to the Pacific time zone stations at 11:30 p.m. Pacific time. Since only 2 feeds originated from Burbank, Central time zone stations received the Eastern feed 1 hour earlier at 10:30 local time, and Mountain Time stations received the Pacific time zone feed 1 hour later at 12:30 a.m. local time. In 1980, at Carson's request, the show cut its 90-minute format to 60 minutes on September 16th. Tom Schneider's Tomorrow added a half hour to fill the vacant time. Joan Rivers became the permanent guest host from September 83 until 86. And The Tonight Show then returned to using rotating guest hosts, including comic George Carlin. Jay Leno became the exclusive guest host in the fall of 87, and Leno joked that although other guest hosts had upped their fees, he had kept his low, assuring himself more bookings. Eventually, Monday night was for Leno, Tuesday was for the Best of Carson, rebroadcast usually dating from a year earlier, but occasionally from the 70s. And although Carson's work schedule became more abbreviated, Tonight remained so successful that its compensation from NBC continued to rise. By the mid-70s, he had become the highest paid personality on television, earning about $4 million a year. That's about $17,947,000 today, not including nightclub appearances and his other businesses. He refused many offers to appear in films, including title roles in The Thomas Crown Affair and Gene Wilder's role in Blazing Saddles. He also declined director Martin Scorsese's offer to co-star with Robert De Niro in the 1983 film The King of Comedy, with the role of a TV talk show host, then going to Jerry Lewis. In recognition of his 25th anniversary on The Tonight Show, Carson received a personal Peabody Award, the board saying that he had become an American institution, a household word, and most widely quoted American. They also said they felt the time had come to recognize the contributions that Johnny has made to television, to humor, and to America. And of course, you know about Johnny Carson's his characters, Karnak, Art Fern, the tea announcer, Floyd, our Turbo American, all the great stuff that he did, the controversies, the feuds, the business ventures. This man did it all, and he did it in such a way with grace, honesty, dignity, and all of the other stuff that makes the late Johnny Carson an American icon that will be with us forever. Happy 98th birthday to you, Johnny Carson, on your special day. We miss you very much. Coming up next, what is narcissism? Science confronts a widely misunderstood phenomenon. That's coming up next on this edition of DMS 3000 News Live, right after this.
What strange creatures are lurking in the night? Oh, skull face, mummy face too. Oh, ghoul face. What a frightful sight. Yes, Mom, this Halloween your kids can have fun creating their own scary disguise with Cookie Spooks makeup. They just smear it on. When the makeup dries, it cracks to make them look really old and ghoulish. Add in the sheet and the costume's complete. Cookie Spooks makeup kits, 6 frightening disguises to choose from.
Stephen King, author of Carrie said, Evil Dead is the most ferociously original horror film of the year. If you think he's kidding, see for yourself. Evil Dead. They got up on the wrong side of the grave. Evil Dead from New Line Cinema.
Starts tomorrow at these theaters. Check newspapers for times.
I think you'll like this house. Isn't this supposed to be haunted? Haunted? What an absurd idea. I mean, what would a ghost be doing here? Haunted.
David? No other diet soft drink delivers the real cola taste of 1-calorie Diet Coke. The real one. It's lifting more and more spirits every day.
Just for the taste of it.
The move is on to Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
Watch out for him.
It started to happen again.
Dad!
I'm in trouble.
You've had some scary dreams, okay? Help!
Daddy can't help you now.
Freddy is back on Elm Street, and he's not a welcome visitor. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2. Freddy's Revenge. Rated R from New Line Cinema.
Now showing at a theater near you.
As Halloween approaches, you have to prepare yourself for what might happen.
More orange sprinkles.
It's a special time of year, and Dunkin' Donuts is dressing up their donuts for the occasion.
And here's the werewolf.
So come to Dunkin' Donuts and get into the spirit of Halloween.
We'd like some Halloween donuts, please.
Oh.
Anything could happen tonight with Mickey Mouse and M&M's candies. Everything's gonna be just right. A special time for fun and M&M's from Mickey Mouse and friends. The magic never ends. Grab on to that M&M's feeling.
My little goblins will be out long after dark, so I depend on Duracell batteries to light their way, because Duracell lasts longer.
Tests prove after just a few hours of continuous use, regular carbon batteries wear out. But you can get up to 5 times more use from Duracell batteries.
That's why I trust my kids' safety at night to Duracell.
Duracell. The copper top battery. No regular battery looks like it.
We're home! Or lasts like it.
It's Halloween, the night he came home, when the deepest fears are made real, when the darkest nightmares come true, when the most courageous soul cowers in the face of evil. First time on TV, the modern horror classic from John Carpenter. Parental discretion advised. This film contains elements of shock and suspense. And now, Halloween, you won't be watching it alone.
You think I'm mad, don't you? Perhaps we're both mad.
Yes, narcissism. What is it? Science confronts a widely misunderstood phenomenon. And we're going to delve into that article today from scientificamerican.com. The phenomenon. What is narcissism? Researchers debate whether grandiosity always masks vulnerability. By Diana Kwan. This was written on September 1st, 2023. Can you think of a narcissist? Some people might picture Donald Trump, perhaps, or Elon Musk, both of whom are often labeled as such on social media. Or maybe India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, who once wore a pinstripe suit with his own name woven in minute gold letters on each stripe over and over again. But chances are you've encountered a narcissist, and they looked nothing like Trump, Musk, or Modi. Up to 6% of the U.S. population, mostly men, is estimated to have narcissistic personality disorder during some period of their lives, and the condition manifests in confoundingly different ways. People with narcissism may be grandiose or self-loathing, extroverted or socially isolated, captains of industry or unable to maintain steady employment, model citizens or prone to antisocial activities, according to a review paper on diagnosing the disorder. Clinicians note several dimensions on which narcissists vary, and they may function extremely well with successful careers and vibrant social lives, or very poorly. They may or may not have other disorders ranging from depression to sociopathy. And although most people are familiar with the grandiose version of narcissism, as displayed by an arrogant and pompous person who craves attention, the disorder also comes in a vulnerable or covert form, where individuals suffer from internal distress and fluctuations in self-esteem. What these seeming opposites have in common is an extreme preoccupation with themselves. Most psychologists who treat patients say that grandiosity and vulnerability coexist in the same individual, showing up in different situations. Among academic psychologists, however, many contend that these two traits do not always overlap. This debate has raged for decades without resolution, most likely because of a conundrum. Vulnerability is almost always present in a therapist's office, but individuals high in grandiosity are unlikely to show up for treatment. Psychologist Mary Trump deduces from family history and close observation that her uncle, Donald Trump, meets the criteria for narcissistic as well as probably antisocial personality disorder, at the extreme end of which is sociopathy. But coming up with an accurate and comprehensive diagnosis would require a full battery of psychological and neuropsychological tests that he'll never sit for, she notes in her book on the former president. Now, brain science is contributing to a better understanding of narcissism. It's unlikely to resolve the debate, but preliminary studies are coming down on the side of the clinicians. Vulnerability indeed seems to be the hidden underside of grandiosity. Tessa, who's a 25-year-old who now lives in California, has sometimes felt on top of the world. I would wake up every day and go to college believing I was going to be a famous singer and that my life was going to be fantastic, she recalls. I thought I could just keep perfecting myself and that someday I would end up as this amazing person surrounded by this amazing life. But she also hit severe emotional lows. One came when she realized that the fabulous life she imagined might never come to be. It was one of the longest periods of depression I've ever gone through, Tessa tells me. I became so bitter, and I'm still working through it now. That dissonance between fantasy and reality has spilled into her relationships. When speaking to other people, she often finds herself bored, and in romantic partnerships especially, she feels disconnected from both her own and her partner's emotions. An ex-boyfriend, after breaking up, told her she'd been oblivious to the hurt she caused him by exploding in rage when he failed to meet her expectations. I told him, "Your suffering felt like a cry in the wind. I didn't know you were feeling that way. All I could think about was how betrayed I felt," she says. It upset her to see him connect with other people. She reacted by degrading his friends and trying to stop him from meeting them. And she hated him admiring other people because it made her question whether he continued to see her as admirable. Not being able to live the idolized versions of herself, which include visions of being surrounded by friends and fans who love and idolize her for her beauty and talent, leaves Tessa profoundly distressed. Sometimes I simultaneously feel above everything, above life itself, and also like a piece of trash on the side of the road, she says. I feel like I'm constantly trying to hide and cover things up. I'm constantly stressed and exhausted. I'm also constantly trying to build an inner self so I don't have to feel that way anymore. After her parents suggested therapy, Tessa was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder in 2023. What makes narcissism particularly complex is that it may not always be dysfunctional. Being socially dominant, being achievement striving, and focused on improving one's own lot in life by themselves are not all that problematic and tend to be valued by Western cultures, notes Aidan Wright, who's a psychologist at the University of Michigan. Elsa Roningstam, a clinical psychologist at McLean Hospital in Massachusetts, says the relatively functional variety of narcissism includes having, when things are going well, a positive view of oneself and a drive to preserve one's own well-being, while still being able to maintain close relationships with others and tolerate divergences from an idolized version of oneself. Then there is pathological narcissism, characterized by an inability to maintain a steady sense of salvation or self-esteem. Those with this condition protect an inflated view of themselves at the expense of others, and when that view is threatened, experience anger, shame, envy, and other negative emotions. They can go about living relatively normal lives and act only in certain situations. Narcissistic personality disorder is a subtype of pathological narcissism in which someone has persistent long-term issues. It often occurs along with other conditions such as depression, bipolar disorder, borderline personality, or antisocial personality disorder. And there you have it, friends. Thank you very much to Diana Kwan for giving us What is Narcissism? The science that confronts a widely misunderstood phenomenon. We'll be right back.
Great Halloween parties begin at Walgreens. Candy, party decorations, masks, costumes, makeup. Everything you need for Halloween fun now at Walgreens.
Ever hear of a gift certificate that turns into a soft drink? Oh, it can happen this Halloween. When you give out McDonald's Halloween gift certificates, kids take them to McDonald's and they get a McDonald's soft drink. Oh, what is that? A book of 20 Halloween gift certificates costs only $1. And can turn into 20 regular soft drinks. It must be the magic of Halloween.
Nobody can do it like McDonald's can.
Nobody.
I'm Freddy Krueger, and you're invited to my special get-together. But beware, you may never leave. Dial this number now. I've got some grisly details for you. And if you're one of my lucky callers selected at random, you'll talk to me live while you're awake and safe. So dial this number now if you dare. Talk to me live. Freddy Krueger is waiting just for you.
$2 for the first minute, 35 cents each additional minute.
For Halloween, Toys R Us doesn't miss a trick, and the prices are a treat. We've got costumes for all Toys R Us kids, even grown-ups, and loads of candy, makeup, masks, and more. Toys R Us will make your Halloween supernatural.
This morning, Billy looked like any other boy, but as the moon rose, he turned into a werewolf. He used new Pa's Halloween makeup kits. His friends did too. Look, Mike's a vampire. Amy's a ghost. Pa's makeup is safer than masks. It never blocks vision, and it's hypoallergenic too. So watch your kids turn into the creatures they really are with new Pa's Halloween makeup kits.
Tales of horror that will give you the creeps.
This is going to be extremely painful, Mr. Verrill.
The most fun you'll ever have being scared. Creep Show. Rated R.
Now playing at a theater near you.
Granola dip. I really dip. Granola dip. Chocolate and granola already in my whole granola dip.
Quaker granola dips, a hauntingly wholesome Halloween treat. Chewy granola dipped in real milk chocolate.
Chocolate and granola, lose my self-control at granola dip.
The perfect treat for your little monsters.
Gosh, Burger Chef, it's Wolfburger the werewolf.
Where can I get delicious burgers? Where can I get fun food? Where, oh where?
At Burger Chef.
Where?
And now at participating Burger Chefs, you can buy fun meals that now come on Halloween magic meal trays. There's a magic trick in each fun meal. There are 10 different magic meal tricks you can collect.
Burger Chef, you're incredible.
Dear Great Pumpkin, I'm looking forward to your arrival on Halloween night.
They're back, all the little Peanuts characters, in a happy Halloween special, filled with ghosties and ghoulies and things that go bump in the night. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, Monday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
And yes, that will be one of the great movies you might want to watch with your children on Tuesday night if you decide not to go trick-or-treating or celebrate Halloween in some other way. And it's a good way to do that because then it gives your kids an idea of what Halloween is really like, the non-scary way. So today on the editorial, I want to talk to you about getting close to Halloween and what that means for a safe Halloween trick-or-treating night. Halloween will be with us next Tuesday on October 31st. And I know this is the time for dressing up with the kids in costumes of all kinds of variety and exquisite detail and stuff of that sort. But there are things you might want to take with you on a checklist that will make your Halloween a lot safer. If you're trick-or-treating in dark areas, please make sure you bring flashlights that have good batteries, and you always accompanied by an adult. If you have a group of kids with you, usually 2 adults per child is safe enough, so that if your group is about 6, you should have about 3 parents to 3 kids, a 3-to-3 ratio, so that way everybody is safe and everybody has a hand to hold on to while crossing the street if you're in an area where you'll be doing many trick-or-treating hours from, usually around 7 to 9. That's the highlight of it. Also, too, if you don't want to participate in giving out candy, don't put your lights on. It's one of the things that we've learned over the years is leaving your lights on makes you vulnerable to the bell ringing for candy. And we've also realized that sometimes if you're on a cul-de-sac like we are here, our neighbors will put a big table out there with a big bunch of candy for our residents who are in the development. I found that out a couple of years ago, and they've done it ever since. So it's a great way to be able to interact with the kids of the neighborhood, and they can come to a specific spot, pick up their candy, and not have to worry about going house to house. They can come out in the middle of the cul-de-sac on a cool night and get their candy and their fill. Another thing also, too, is you want to wear costumes that are not blocking your vision, or wear makeup that, doesn't prevent something to where you can't see. Masks are not as good as actual makeup for costumes, I think, especially for young kids who want to be clowns or witches or something of the scary sort. And I think with the Halloween commercials you've seen during our during our break, our commercial breaks, even though they're older commercials, you could see that Paz is one of those companies that makes a lot of great makeup art kits for Halloween, Easter, Christmas time. Paz is also known for their egg decorating during Easter time. So Paz has been around a long time, and we'll look at that company as far as they've been, as far back as they go. Pumpkins are another thing that is a safe way of enjoying Halloween. But you also have to remember, too, that if you decide to put a pumpkin out on your house stoop, make sure it doesn't get taken away. We've seen many a times when people have put pumpkins right outside only to have them snatched up by thieves. And there are pumpkin thieves out there, folks. I can tell you right now, been a victim of it. New York, if you're out there and you put a pumpkin, a big one out there, especially for everybody to see, right by your stoop, don't expect it to be there the next morning, because I guarantee you somebody's going to swipe it and claim it as their own. It's just some things where they decide to prank and throw eggs, and bombing is another one of those things where houses get destroyed by shaving cream and eggs or toilet papered and all that other stuff. I think that's childhood nonsense. That is not Halloween in any of its ways. And I don't know whoever came up with that idea of thinking of destroying property with toilet paper, shaving cream, and eggs. I don't understand it. I don't know why it continues to be part of a Halloween tradition. And I don't agree with it because it destroys property. And then the homeowner has to flip the bill because whoever destroyed their property is not being arrested, not being fined. Furthermore, not even cleaning up the mess that they made the next day. Why would you target that person who doesn't choose not to celebrate Halloween? Okay, Halloween is not an official holiday. It never was. It is a ritual day for people who want to celebrate it. But given our freedoms and our choices here, folks, not everybody celebrates Halloween. I am one of them. I don't like it. I don't believe in giving candy. I love eating candy, but I don't feel my friends should be getting candy and thinking that's the only thing that's to be done on Halloween. You can have a Halloween party where it's themed just like a Halloween ball dance or something of that sort, and make it in a safe environment, or go to a Halloween party of your choosing. But remember, again, be safe. That's the thing that is very important that we have to understand. Safety, precautions, doing the right thing, and not overdoing it are the importance of having a safe and fun Halloween night. Now, I know that Halloween falls on a weekday this year, but even though people on the weekends prior to Halloween are going to have Halloween parties, adult and children themed. So in this case, the weekends will pick up the slack from the days during the week. Whatever the case may be, Halloween is for everybody and anybody, or for not everybody. Choose your way. Do you want to celebrate it or not? However you decide to do it is up to you. My thing is that I would rather put out harvest stuff for the fall, non-scary things that are not related to Halloween, but more towards Thanksgiving, to celebrate the fall harvest, because we're all getting ready for fall and getting ready for Christmas eventually as well, too. Candy-wise, trying not to buy too much. We eat a lot of candy during the year, and candy is great once in a while. Whenever you want to crave something, have it. Don't have to wait till Halloween to have it. But though, it's an interesting situation when you have stuff like that. If you want to go to the theme parks to celebrate Halloween, Universal, of course, has Halloween Horror Nights. Disney has Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. If you're not able to get, and have access to being here in Florida, there are other things in other states. There's always Bobbing for Apples. Church events are really good, too. The mall always has trick-or-treating in the safe environment for kids. Do look at those resources. Take advantage of them. They might be able to help you in some way, shape, or form have a safe Halloween night. Again, folks, this editorial is all about safety. I can't express it enough. Something that I think we should really take into consideration when we're planning that Halloween party that's going to be a memory for not only us, but for our kids, if we have kids. Whatever the case may be, I think that with all of that said, we can still have a safe Halloween week ahead of us. And we'll be talking about some Halloween themes stuff coming up in this episodes this week and leading up to Halloween. Like we'll talk about pumpkins and pumpkin pie. We'll talk about ghosts and goblins. What's really scary about it? What's the traditional thing that people do on Halloween? We've looked at that stuff. Halloween themed movies, which of course are not real. And you have to kind of explain that to a young child. If a young child like that gets scared very easily, don't make fun of them. Don't give them a hard time. And don't, be a bully on Halloween either. You like being scared, great. But some people just don't like being attacked from and somebody jumping out in front of them and giving them a conniption. It's not cool, and it shouldn't be done. And at the consent of everybody who doesn't want to be scared like that, it should be respected. With that in mind, and ending on this note today, I thank you very much for another great edition of DMS 3000 News Live. Episode 61 comes at you tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning, with more articles and commentaries. And of course, we'll look at Halloween in all of its glory. We are 8 days officially there. Tomorrow will be 1 week from it. As we get closer to Halloween, we'll look at those things that very much scared us when we were kids. And today we can, by the process of learning it, see what we could do for ourselves to have a safe and enjoyable Halloween day. From all of us here at the David 3000 Network, I'm Jason DeCanio. We will see you tomorrow. For now, be honest, be real, and keep it simple, stupid. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to the David 3000 Network for great more content like this one.